Here with Wes Boling, Marketing Communications Manager for Nokian Tyres. During Wes's time with Nokian, the company opened its North American tire manufacturing plant in Tennessee, which started producing tires for commercial sale this year. Wes, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. You've done a great job with these and glad to get to be on one.
Thank you so much. So I'm curious to talk with you today. I'd like to speak about Nokian's Dayton, Tennessee plant. It seems like, at least to me, the plant started producing tires for commercial sale. Then it had to essentially close due to precautions around the coronavirus. So can you explain a little bit about the shutting down process and now, what it's been like to ramp up?
Sure. So I think you can safely say there has been no defined normal for the Dayton factory since it opened. After our team got back from Russia and Finland from training last July, we started ramping up to production, officially opened last October, and then began producing tires for commercial sale in January. So it's been a constant state of flux. And of course, no factory upon opening is going to be at full capacity immediately. There's going to be a significant ramp up process. And so the closure did happen right in the middle of that production ramp up. But we'd had several SKUs certified, produced, and shipped off in various quantities. But our focus really, Madeline, the whole time in 2020 is not on quantity so much as quality. So certainly we had production benchmarks we wanted to hit, but all along the focus has been on making sure each SKU is as perfect as it can be when it goes out the door. So the process certainly interrupted some of those quality goals or quantity goals rather that we've set, but has not interrupted the quality benchmarks. So we're able to keep those standards in place. But yes, in mid-March, we started having very serious discussion about what we needed to do to keep our employees safe and how we could do that in a way that also honored our customers. And so on March 27th, we decided to shut down. We were shut down for just over 5 weeks officially. First group of folks came back April 27th, and the rest came back May 4th.
So where are you guys at with capacity right now?
So don't have a specific number for you. I know that we were never planning to get to full capacity anytime in 2020 or probably even next year. We're only at about a quarter of our employment number right now. We're around 100 of the eventual 400 that we will have, and that's deliberate. It's just part of that ramp up process. We are scheduled to begin recruiting in a second wave to bring in more folks here over the next year or so. I would say we are short term a little further behind than we'd want to be just because of the coronavirus break. Again, I think everybody can probably speak to that. But long term, we're continuing on a positive track to be where we want to be. I think when you look at what full capacity is, that 4 million tires per year, we're talking 2023 by the time we probably hit that.
Okay, got it. Okay. So you mentioned some of the precautions that you guys are taking at the Dayton factory. Can you kind of describe what those are?
Sure. So, those precautions that we're taking to protect our people really span a lot of different areas. So we have a little extra burden that we've saddled ourselves with, which is we don't want to just be a good tire supplier. We want to be premium. We want to be one of the best, if not the best in the industry. And that means, being premium in everything we do and having a premium approach to protecting our people. So, that covers safety. It covers still having a top-notch supply of tires to send out premium products. It covers still being sustainable and then also serving the local community. So in terms of what we're doing to serve our employees, that safety element that obviously comes first. We wouldn't have reopened until we were confident we could help keep them safe. So we have no factory-wide meetings. We have dedicated entrance times for each department so that they're spaced out and social distancing is kind of organic there. Masks for every employee. Everybody who comes to the factory is being screened. So temperature screening. If we have a visitor to the factory, which is rare these days, besides a contractor or a vendor, then they have to fill out a screening form as well. And then one luxury right now is that, again, we're only at a quarter of capacity. The factory is 830,000 square feet. So there's a little more space to operate right now than there will be when we do get to that full employment. That's enabled us to really kind of organically incorporate those social distancing practices into our daily routines without a whole lot of stress or trouble. We already worked virtually really well. My boss works in Vermont. I'm in Nashville. They're in Dayton. So that really wasn't a big change. It's just that now those folks in Dayton might be across the factory from one another and having a teams meeting instead of getting together. And then we'll actually be celebrating a really big milestone. We are celebrating a year without a lost time injury, which is to say it's never happened at the Dayton factory. And we really wanted to have a celebration, but we're going to stagger those lunch times and everybody come pick up a little lunch treat and have a little virtual celebration. So those are some of the things we're doing to try to be premium and respect our employee safety. Happy to say, as of this recording, we've not had any confirmed positive cases since returning, and actually at all um, since the whole outbreak began among our employees.
Oh, that's good to hear, and thank you for sharing that information. I did want to know about any supply issues that you guys had. I know, you're ramping up right now. Can you tell me during this and, going forward, do you foresee any supply issues on Nokian's end in getting tires to your dealers?
Not at this point, and we don't really anticipate that at all. We've had successful inventory flow from the Dayton factory to our warehouses, but again, because the focus this year is on just ramping up and quantity is not significant anyway, there was never going to be a huge number of tires coming out of the factory this year anyway. But what there is coming out is coming out at predicted rate. We had forecast our inventory needs for our dealers well enough in advance. Those needs are taken care of for some time. And what is not taken care of will be able to be addressed well in time from our other factories in Finland and Russia. So we have not had issues getting supply to customers, and we don't expect to. And so that's enabled us to really focus on being a premium partner for them in other ways. Since the supply is taken care of, how else can we help them? How else can we be a resource for them? And one of those ways is just not to be a headache and to have the tires we said we were going to have. So yeah, so far so good on that.
Got it. Okay. And what have your, in talking with some of the Nokian dealers, what have your dealers been going through, this past really month and a half since states have started shutting down due to the coronavirus?
I mean, it's so hard because, it's all well and good to say that they're an essential service. And you and I both know, and our dealers know, they are essential. We have to have the roads running and cars up and running, and there are people driving every day. It's all well and good to say that. But when business is down, when volume is down, that is going to create, of course, considerable challenges when it comes to revenue, when it comes to taking care of their own employees and making sure they are safe. And certainly our dealers that we work with closely have not been immune to those challenges. But I think there's another one that you and I think can both relate to because we talk with so many of these people on a regular basis, which is that they are part of the fabrics of their communities. They're seeing their hometowns suffer. And that takes a psychological toll, that takes an emotional toll that far outweighs, in many cases, a financial toll. Not to underplay, of course, how hard this is financially for many of you. And so what we kept hearing from our dealers was, hey, if you guys ever have any ways to help us support our communities and our employees, we want in. We want to do that. So one thing we did actually recently was we changed our co-op policy to enable dealers to use the co-op marketing funds to give donations to nonprofits in their communities. So specifically nonprofits that are helping fight COVID, whether it's groups that are supporting healthcare workers and first responders, food banks, those types of things. That's been very well received. So we're trying to continue to look at other ways where we can be a premium partner other than just providing a steady stream of tires coming in and continuing to help them educate consumers about who we are and how to be safe. That's been well received, but I cannot express enough admiration for the perseverance of our dealers. This is the hardest thing so many of them have ever been through as a business and personally too, in many cases. And they've continued to provide the absolutely vital essential services they provided, and we admire that.
Yeah, for sure. And same on my end, we've seen that too, just dealers being so resilient, like you said, during this time. And it's good to hear some great news about, you guys helping them be able to give back to their communities during this time. I did want to ask you too, what would Nokian Tires like dealers to know during this difficult time in terms of, servicing them and getting the product they need on a timely basis and being a
They
resource for them?
Yeah, they can count on inventory. They can count on getting what they need from us from a product side. We've also tried to be a really ideal partner for them in other ways. I mentioned the co-op program, but we want to give them the information their drivers need. So many drivers, I would say, you may have the research in front of you, nearly a majority, if not a majority, are still making their tire decision based on what a tire dealer says. They are a trusted voice in their community. And so, we love to have trips like you've joined us at Copper Mountain, Colorado, and we take some to Finland every year. That's not happening right now, obviously. We can't educate dealers in that way, but we're committed to continuing to provide the info they need to make the sale and to at least, talk about what Nokian Tyres is, or whether or not that's their end recommendation or the end purchase. So we're committed to putting partnership over profit. We're all in, as you've heard every commercial in the world say, uncharted waters right now, unprecedented times. And I think it's more important for us and for other manufacturers to be premium partners right now than it is to be sales drivers. So, we have profit goals like everybody else. And like everybody else, we're not going to hit the goals that we put out there at the beginning of the year before we knew all this was happening. Dealers probably aren't either. But however we can be an ideal partner for them, we want to be. So whether it's a co-op program, whether it's a campaign like we launched last week called Fresh Start that drives drivers their way, and helps people understand how to keep your car fresh while it's maybe sitting in the garage more often than possible. Those are ways that we want to communicate frequently with them and meet them and their customers where they are. And that's what we want them to be aware of, that we're here to be that resource, but we're also open to adapting our approach to their ideas as we've done and as we will continue to do as they
No, that's great to hear. Now, last question for you, Wes. I wanted to ask with the coronavirus, obviously the new factory in Dayton is starting to ramp up again, but have any plans for new tire launches or any plans for Nokian in terms of how they approach the North American market? Have any of those plans changed for the coming year?
There have been no drastic changes. We do have some products coming down the line in the next 12 months. Can't wait to share more about that, and really excited for what those are going to mean. We've not seen significant impact though when it comes to launching those. What's going to be released, and there may be an event or two that could get shifted just a little bit. But in terms of the product itself, feel confident in the release time and certainly the quality that those are going to bring to the market.
Great. Awesome. Well, we look forward to hearing about that a little bit more when the time comes. But I just thank you for coming on the podcast today. I really appreciate your time. And is there any other things that you'd like to say about Nokian Tires and how you guys are serving dealers during this time?
Yeah, I'll tell you really what our three priorities are right now, just to leave you with, and hopefully dealers can appreciate because I think they're doing a lot of the same things. Number one, I mentioned is to put partnership over profit. Focus on the relationship because ultimately that's the true reward of business anyway. But it also brings the profit rewards later when things are cooking a little better than they are right now. Number two is we're thinking about how we can thrive and not just survive this time. We want to set a really high bar for our health and safety practices for our employees, for our creativity on the marketing side, and not just get by, but be premium. And number three, we want to communicate frequently with our dealers. We have a monthly newsletter we send out. We have, of course, great sales relationships, and our sales team is constantly having those conversations. We don't want anxiety to fill the room, as we've seen in the public sphere. We've seen in other places where maybe information isn't always clear, and so we substitute in our own nerves and anxiety for facts. We'd rather provide facts, and I think that is where Tire Review and the other publications that serve this industry are vital as well. So to wrap it up on my end, thank you so much for the service that you're providing to provide that information to make sure that the dealers are up to speed and understand the landscape, because as the landscape changes every day, we're all definitely having a hard time trying to keep up.
For sure. And no, thank you. We appreciate that. And thanks again for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Madeline.